Hey, welcome guitar fam and friends. I'm Nate Savage if you don't know me, and I'm very excited to start this new little series of lessons here on YouTube. The reason is because this is something that I've struggled with for a long time, and that is playing over chord changes or improvising over chord changes. I've always found it to be really elusive and kind of mysterious, and even when I've asked some really heavy hitter players what they think about when they're playing over chord changes and how to actually outline the chords and still sound good and melodic at the same time, at best, I would get kind of elusive answers or some kind of answer from these world-class players. It was like they were so transcended that they didn't think about it anymore and they just played, which is very frustrating when you're trying to get the basics of improvising and playing over chord changes down. And it can be very discouraging and make you just feel like quitting because you feel like it's impossible. So what I want to do with these lessons, it's going to be called the improv loop. There's a good reason for that. I'll tell you in a second. But I just want to take everything one tiny little step by step so you don't feel like, oh, improvising is something that's just too hard, it's something I can't do. You can do it. With my knowledge and musical background, I understand all the concepts about, improvising over chord changes with shapes, ear training, numbers, all those things, keys. But I will admit that I haven't put in the time with my instrument on this that I need to be where I want to be. And that's what I'm going to be doing throughout this series of lessons called the improv loop. And what I'll do is I'll share with you what I've learned so far. And as I get better myself and learn about those things, which I'm not very good at yet, I'll share those with you as well. You can ask questions along the way as much as you like. Now, the reason this lesson, episode 1, is called the most important tool for improvising or practicing improvising, the reason it's called that is because I want to talk to you about a looper. Where is my looper? Hold on. Okay, a looper. And this is a bit of an overstatement as far as this lesson goes, or this episode goes, just because you don't have to have a looper to practice improvising. You can have a friend to jam with, you can have a jam track, anything will work, but a looper is the most convenient because a lot of us are at home by ourselves and we don't always have the jam tracks specifically that we need, or maybe they're too complicated, maybe they're changing chords too fast. With a looper, you can program in something as simple as one chord, just strum one chord, and you'll have your context for what you're playing over. And that is a really important thing. But don't feel like you have to have a looper. You can have a friend to jam with or a jam track. And the cool thing about these episodes is every example that I do, I'll have a jam track for you. That way, if you don't have a looper, you can just download the jam track and play along to it. It'll just be one chord or a chord progression for you to work on improvising with. So keep that in mind. And if you do want to get a looper, there are lots of them out there nowadays for around $100. This is the simplest one I could find, and I love it. It's just a Ditto looper, $100. You can get a used one for probably, 50, 60, 70. I highly recommend getting one. And the main two reasons I say this is the most important practice tool is it provides you harmonic context for what you're playing. I'll give you an example of this. This note, if I play it by itself, doesn't mean a whole lot. But let me put a C chord in this looper. As soon as I put a chord in here and give it some context, it takes on a whole new meaning. And that's one thing. Having that harmonic backdrop will start to help you develop your ear, your sense of what notes sound good over different chords and things like that. We'll hook endless topics up with it. Another reason why the looper is going to be one of the best practice tools that you can use is because it's not only going to work on your lead guitar, improvising, all that stuff, but is going to expose weak areas in your rhythm guitar playing. It'll make your timing a lot better. It'll force you to get more creative with your rhythm guitar playing, and just a lot of other benefits to using a looper. And we'll get into this more later. The next episode is going to be the basics of how to use a looper. So if you don't know how to use it, or if you're a little intimidated by it, don't worry. We'll go over the basics. And I'm like no looping expert. I just use it to practice improvising for that. So go out and get a looper if you can. If not, we got you covered with the jam tracks here. So there's a lot to improvising, I know, but we're going to keep things as simple as possible and go just step by step. I've gone through a lot of courses and I think like video series on YouTube where you'll start on a video and then for the next video, it'll be a quantum leap and it'll be like, what happened in between here? I feel like I'm either just stupid or I don't get it. So that's the last thing I want to happen here. And this brings up an important point. For yourself, as you go through this, really commit to it for 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years, a long period of time. Because when you focus on something for a longer period of time, a sustained period of time, you will get better at it. And I can prove this with the fingerstyle course I did, the fingerstyle masterclass. I took a year and a half, almost 2 years, and just focused on fingerstyle, and I got a lot better at it. And I suspect the same thing will happen here. I'll learn a lot of new stuff and share it with you as much as possible. As we go through these episodes, you're going to need to really be honest with yourself as far as how often you're practicing and how consistent you're being with your practice. If you're not consistent with it, it's going to be difficult and you're not going to see the results you want. Also, you need to make sure to have that harmonic backdrop for whichever way you choose to do this, whether it's your looper or the jam track. You need to have context for the notes you're playing. That'll help your ear a lot. That'll help your ear training, just your knowledge of the fretboard, and being able to pick the notes out that you actually want to hear instead of just, playing through a major scale or whatever, or a pentatonic scale. That's really important. Just like the intro sequence here, the little playing bit that I did, all it was A minor to a C chord, right? But that gave me some parameters to work within while I was forced to kind of choose my notes over those chords that I was playing. And the place that came from is I just looked at a song, or I heard a song that I liked, and that's the time of the season for loving, And that's all it did. I took 2 chords. It could be as simple as 1 chord from a song that I liked, put it in my looper, and said, okay, we'll get into this more and more later. How do I pick notes that sound good that I actually want to play? So here's the plan. Every week or 2, I'm going to put out a new episode of the Improv Loop, so don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the little bell notifications icon, just so you don't miss an episode. And if you have any questions about that video, you can leave, a comment on whatever page you're watching, or better yet, go to guitarfam.com and create your complimentary account. With that complimentary account, you get 1 free private one-on-one lesson with me. You can schedule that on the site too, and you can do it via Zoom or whatever other platform you're most comfortable with. Or you can just email us, support@guitarfam.com, if you want to just let us know how things are going with you, if you have any more specific questions. I'm really looking forward to going through this with you and learning more about improvisation together, and you discovering that you can improvise. It's just a matter of taking it one little tiny step at a time. See you in the next one.